Okay, so watch Tenet. Went to go see Tenet. You see, backwards N, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so I went to go see Tenet. So before I kind of get into the movie quickly about how social distancing movie theaters are, so it was fine because you pick your seat and then all the seats around you are have to be designated empty, which is great. I realized I didn't turn on my other lights, which is great because I don't like people around me anyway when I'm oh god, ooh, this is too on me. Okay, let's just do one light. I don't like people around me anyway when I'm at the movies, which is why I usually go to the movies really fucking early. But now, because of, the world being on fire, the movie theaters only open like late afternoon, evening, obviously. So, again, which is great because no one's around me, especially like a movie like this, where there's a lot of talking, thinking, dialogue, and things happening. I can't stand people next to me like, wow, what just happened? And it's like, shut the fuck, anyway, although I have to say, watching a suspenseful movie like this, like a thriller, and like, oh, what happened next? Wearing a mask is probably not, like, it's just, a few times I was just, like, holding it out like this, because I was like, like, you don't realize how much of a panicky mess you are. I mean, I already known that for way too many years, but you don't realize how much of a panicky mess you are watching a movie. When you're watching it, you're like, you're like having trouble breathing. I felt like a fucking anti-masker being like, I can't breathe with this thing on! It's fine! Jesus is on my side! Like, alright, honey. But there were times where I had to like kind of pull it to be like, because I'm watching it like, oh, let's get next, let's get next. And then I like pulled it down a little and I had my little sip of water and I had my little snacks. Kudos to the other people in the theater who had like popcorn, like snacks. And usually I buy the shit in the concessions, but I was like, nah, man, for once I won't have your $15 nachos and all that stuff. And again, because this movie is, I saw like a 7 p.m. showing. I've not seen a 7 p.m. showing of fuck all in forever. So of course I already like ate dinner because I'm an old person. And anyway, so the movie. So about the movie. I really enjoyed it. It's Christopher Nolan. I knew I was going to enjoy it anyway, I feel like this is going to sound really fucking pretentious with me, because I was going to say, like, I feel like even if you're not that smart, you'll like this movie. Like, to be honest, it's just, like, I guess visuals and all that stuff, like, as you see in the trailer. Oh, also, I'm going to go into spoilers way later, so I forget, because all these other movies I reviewed have just been ass, so I'm just like, let's just talk about Shia LaBeouf. Anyway, but just, like, as you see in the trailer, a lot of, like, ooh, backwards stuff, and then forwards, and, like, just visually, not really set. Well, there are some sets, but really just locations they shoot at and all that stuff. Obviously, it's Nolan, so it's shot with, IMAX and blah, so he likes those large sweeping shots and all that shit, which is great, because it looks amazing. Like I said, to be an asshole, like, if you're not that smart, you're gonna, like, you're still gonna probably enjoy this movie just from, like, just literally just seeing shit happen on screen. Now if you're, like a slightly smarter person, you're like, oh, anyway, I'm just gonna stop being an ass. Anywho, I'll go into more of that stuff in the spoilers. So, as you see in the trailer, John David Washington, he is he works, with, and he has to, figure things out. I realized, wow, if you really talk about from the trailer, it's like that's really it. And then Robert Pattinson's there to be partner. Robert Pattinson. Oh man, it's so good seeing him just doing good shit. I'm so proud of that boy now. I've said this a bunch of times. Like, if me 10 years ago would have known that 10 years later I would be like, yeah, I love the movies Robert Pattinson's in, and he's such a good actor. Oh my god, I'm excited for him to be Batman. Like, that bitch 10 years ago, that bitch would have been so mad. I'd be like, what the fuck? Why would you like stupid Twilight Boy? And it's like, no, you don't understand. You know, because at the time, it hadn't come out yet that how much he hated Twilight, you know? So it's just like, oh, bro. But yeah, obviously John David Washington did amazing because, you know, the few things I've seen him in, God, I go to take off the light and I almost break it, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the few things I've seen him in, he's great, as is. Recently he did an interview, a really, really good interview with Deez and Merrill, and that was fucking hilarious, because those guys are hilarious as it is, but adding him in there was really great chemistry to watch. But, anyway, yeah. So, all the stunts, all the shit in the movie, great. Like I said, Robert Pattinson did, you know, well, I don't even want to say he did amazing. He did well. Like, it's like when you watched him in Harry Potter, like, oh, he's alright, you know, he's cool. And then Twilight happened, you're like, oh, fucking hell, alright, so, you know. And then you did that Remember Me movie, and they're like, 9/11! You're like, oh, okay. You know, anyway. I'll have to go into spoilers, because really, there's no other way to talk about this movie. Anyway, to conclude non-spoiler review is that I enjoyed the movie. Obviously, it's a Nolan film, so you're gonna have to watch it a couple, you know, like, have to give it a couple of watches kind of stuff. Paul called this Black Inception, which I was like, fucking hell. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, like, it's a Nolan movie, so obviously the last one was Dunkirk, so obviously that was based on true events. So that one, like, you can't really just be like, I'll believe what, you know, it's like, no, it actually happened. But this is like, again, because it's Nolan, it's on par with, like, Interstellar, where there's a lot of, like, Interstellar and Inception, like, that kind of stuff, where time is a huge factor, excuse me, in his movies. Time being a huge factor. Definitely in this one, physics, as you can see, where things are backwards and all that stuff. Physics in so many ways in this movie, just physics, you know? Like, my little, like, teenage heart is like, oh my god, physics! And then I went to art school, but yeah. So yeah, it's on par with, like, what you would say is, like, the regular Nolan type of films, you know? You have to watch it, lots of thinking, lots of dialogue, you gotta listen, you know? And that was actually one thing I was worried about, because a lot of movies, you know, because, you know, with the world and shit, I've just watched everything at home, so, like, my attention span has been very, like, you know, like, how many times in my reviews have I said, like, oh, yeah, I was watching it, and then I was starting to lose interest, so I paused it, and I did something else before I, you know, went back to it, or, like, oh, yeah, I watched it, and, like, 3/4 of the way, I was just, like, really, really bored out of my mind. Oh, and then I restarted the movie because I was like, I actually don't remember what's going on, you know? I was worried that I would just sit there and just my brain would just kind of, like, drift away into something, but I was actually fine. Also, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. So, I saw this in IMAX, big quotes. I saw it in the theater in, you know, in my neighborhood, and it's got IMAX. Now, the IMAX I'm used to is the one, you know, near Lincoln Square, and you've got to go up, like, several floors, a huge-ass, fucking tall-ass escalator. You go in there, and it's fuck-all huge, like, huge-ass screen, amazing seats, amazing sound. That's what we get to. And it's amazing. Like, anything that comes out on IMAX, especially a Nolan film, like, fuck, I saw Dunkirk on that shit, that was fucking amazing. But this one is IMAX, where the screen is just slightly bigger, you know? And all they do is just crank the sound up, so you've got, like, Michael Bay Transformers 3 level of, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, no, Transformers 2. Actually, you know all the Transformers, but you know what I mean. Where you're like, ah! You know? Because I know if this was regular times, and I know if I saw this in the theater I usually see my actual IMAX movies in, I wouldn't have been like this at times. Like, with gunfights and shit like that, I was just like, oh my fucking Christ. Because I've seen shit in fake IMAX before, and, like, and yeah, I've seen shit in fake IMAX before, and it's just like, it's just loud. Whereas in the real IMAX thing, obviously besides the thing being bigger, yeah, the stuff is louder, but it's more equalized. It's not just like you just crank the volume, you know, you gotta make sure you got your levels up and all that shit. Granted, I know there was a lot of like people bitching about a lot of the sound, like the sound mixing in this, saying like, oh, it was really fucked up, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like I've only heard that complaint within like the first week this came out, and after that, I didn't really see that complaint anymore. And I'm just gonna really base that off of that I've seen shit in fake IMAX, and that's all they do is just crank it louder, you know? Whereas and like I said, the real IMAX I've seen like so many Marvel movies. I saw fucking Pacific Rim in that shit. You know, like again, I've seen every fucking Nolan movie. Well, you know, almost every Nolan movie. You know what I mean? That he's put on IMAX. I've seen all, and the sound has not been the issue. So I'm just gonna put it on that. I'm not gonna blame it on the film itself. Also, I have fucking tinnitus, and that was definitely not helping. You know, there are times I'm just sitting there, and I feel like I'm like a tourist whenever like, you know, sirens go off, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm just like, I'm in New York. Why am I doing a New York accent in New York? Oh, you know, I mean, they're like, what's like a Midwest accent? They're like, oh gosh, don't you know, it's so loud over here. You know, like, they're like sirens going off, or like the subway, and they're like, oh, it's so loud, and I'm just there like, huh? Anyway, but yeah, that was fucking with me, and I was just like, this is my good ear, hold on. I wish I actually grabbed my earplugs. I had to do that with one of the Transformer movies, because I knew I was going to go see Transformers, and I was like, hold on, let me grab my earplugs, and that fucking saved me. So I'm going to be a little funny for a few days, so that's going to be great. Yay, me. Anywho, we go to spoilers. 1, 2, 3, spoilers. So, fucking Tenet. So this is, fuck, what is it called? It's that stone that, you know, they found that it's like, all the words all, you know, line up. It says like opera, Rodus, Tenet, something, and it's like, you could read it this way as well. Because the movie's called Tenet, but not like a, not, well, one, not David Tennant, two, not like like someone who lives somewhere like a tenant, but Tenet. Anyway, but like that block of stone where they wrote those words and all that shit. Like, you know, it's like opera, whatever. They say it in the movie. That's what Kenneth Branagh's character is. Tenet, and there's some other, it's like 5 words, but it's that stone thing. Because I was like realizing, I'm like, wait a second. The movie's called Tenet. That they're at the opera. You know what I mean? Like when you're just like, oh shit, I'm putting it together. Also, like the thing with the physics in this movie, it's not just like, okay, things go backwards, so we're looking at things backwards and how it's very, you know, defies physics kind of stuff. But it's also, they're talking about like, fuck, what's it called? Oh my god, it was in my brain, now it's gone. Fucking Muse wrote songs about it. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, so like, they mention about like thermodynamics and entropy and all that stuff, you know, like, and I'm watching it like, oh my god, I know this stuff! You know, because back in the day, a very young child of myself, I was like, I will be a physicist. And I went to art school, so here I am. But yeah, it's a, they're using, like, obviously, real, like, a lot of times, you know, in science fiction, it's like they take, like, this much of it, and then they're like, but then again, like, you know, Christopher Nolan, like, he has more thought to his stuff, obviously. You know, I'm not saying he's a genius, I'm not saying he's, like, you know, God-like or whatever, like, he cannot do wrong, but I'm just saying, like, he uses his brain, how dare he. But anyway, yeah, so they're talking about that, so they're not just talking about how, like, it's not just, like, that, and then, again, like, thermodynamics and all that stuff. It's also, like, who's about fuck it? It's also, like, time travels in it as well, and they do mention, like, the grandfather paradox, like, they get it, you know, and there's so many times where, like, you know, like, you watch something that has to deal with time travel, and there's sometimes you want to call bullshit on some things that don't make any damn sense. You know, like, good time travel is like, oh my god, Dark. Dark is such an amazing show. That's some good-ass shit. You need, like, a Pepe Sylvia flowchart to figure it out, but you're like, that's fucking good shit. Doctor Who is also a good thing because it's even like Robert Pattinson and John David Washington's character. They're like the Doctor and River Song. Like they met, like, you know what I mean. They're like, he's like, this is the beginning for me. He's like, yeah, and this is like kind of the end. But it's like, it's kind of like when the Doctor and, you know, River met, is that it was the beginning for him and the end for her. And then like every time they meet, it's like got to go through. Funny enough, oh god, got to go through the Notebook, the Doctor Notebook, to figure out, you know, where they're at. So, you know, no spoilers, all that shit. So like I enjoyed it. I like the whole, like, you know, like the time travel, you know, element into it. And it's technically not time travel because you're just moving backwards. Like you are time traveling, you know, but it's like you're moving backwards because usually time travel is like it's a jump kind of thing, you know, like I walked through this portal 1987, but here it's like you literally are going backwards in like you literally are physically going backwards in time, you know, that kind of stuff. So it is time travel, you know what I mean, but it's not the jumping time travel. You're literally like, oh, you know, going backwards, which I think it's great, you know. I like the idea of the whole, like, you know, you're backwards, or they keep saying inverted, which is a better way to say you're backwards, is because people have like the oxygen mask stuff, and you know, because, you know, the way you normally breathe backwards would just be like, you know, it just wouldn't make any damn sense. I also like that because again, I know it's a Nolan film, so anything from the beginning, I definitely paid like extra like attention to, and then it all kind of like came back to it, you know. So like when things were like towards the end of things were slowly unfolding into the whole, like, you know, where everything was really coming back to itself, I was like, okay, you know, that's her, that's him, like, you know, like I already know, like, this is how it's all connected. But like not in a, oh, like, you know, like when you could kind of predict, but not in a way of like, oh, I knew Jigsaw was the, you know, killer, like, you know, like that kind of shit. You're just like, okay, that's what's gonna happen. So you know what's gonna happen, but not in a, but you're like, oh, kind of way. And like I said, I really enjoyed it. You know, like, oh my god, freaking Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it. Like, I was just like, oh, hello. You know, Kenneth Branagh's in it. Oh my god, he was like Michael Sheening that role. That was fucking amazing. He's just like, I'm angry. I was like, oh my god, Kenneth Branagh. Like, yes! Just to see him just gonna go crazy. I love it. Michael Caine was in it for like a split second, but it's Nolan. You gotta have Michael Caine in it. You know? Like everyone's like impression of Michael Caine is always, oh, Michael Caine. Like we all do that. I love it. But yeah, like I said, Pattinson did great. You know, the tall skinny lady that's in like Gatsby and fucking, what's that other thing? She was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Oh, she was also the gold lady in Guardians 2. Anyway, very tall swan neck lady. She's great, but she's kind of always good. But yeah, everyone did really well. Like I said, I do enjoy I do enjoy shit like this, you know, because I love science fiction. Time travel stuff is always, like, it's always fun to watch, but, you know, like, you can easily fuck that up, you know? Like, what's that fucking thing called? Project Almanac? Fuck that shit. That had a lot of, like, also was a piece of shit, because really, I'm gonna travel back in time so I can go see Imagine Dragons. Like, that's not realistic. No one would do that. I fucking hate that movie. Anyway, yeah, so, like I said, I enjoy Tenet, you know? I can't wait for that shit to come out on Blu-ray and watch that a bunch of times and be confused, you know, about probably some new stuff I figure out. I'm like, wait, what? You know? There's always, like, something. It's like, what was it, like, my bajillionth time rewatching, like, Inception? I was like, wait a second. You know? You're like, wait, huh? Anywho, but yeah, so that was Tenet. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I finally saw it. You know, I'm glad they decided to put it on in theaters. It sucks that it sucks like the world has to be this way to be able to see the movie, and you know, I you know, to be like that, you know, person, be like, oh, I can't see it the way I want to see it. But, you know, it was either see it in theaters or just like not see it. And, you know, it's a Nolan film, so you have to see it in theaters. Unless you want to be like me and watch Interstellar on a flight back to New York during turbulence. That was that was a journey, you know. But anyway, as I keep saying over and over again. But yes, I enjoyed Tenet. Tenet. I don't know. I was like dancing outside the theater waiting for my mom to pick me up because I'm a child. Jesus, I realize how that sounds. And the cops in the car were just looking at me like, the fuck is this crazy? I'm just like swinging like my tote bag that has like my water bottle in it. I'm just like ba ba da ba, because there was like a restaurant and there was outdoor seating and people, they were playing music, so I was just like waiting for my mommy because I'm 8 years old. I'm not in my 30s. So is that Pharrell's Happy? You know, like, anyway, I'm just blabbing on. No one watches to this point anyway. Alright, bye.